quite a day today. Of course, it is September 11th. Yesterday was absolutely unprecedented. And we also today did line up with CPI, which was hot. And the market pumped on that, and we can see the market right here. Okay. But not only that, Tesla also broke 360. So pretty nutty. And then as for the stock, in the title of this, it might break 25, that's Intel. Okay. Sorry for the beeping. That is a vehicle outside. Okay. Now let's just watch this, okay? Because that's what everyone's talking about.
This is drone footage of the area. This is where Charlie Kirk's tent was, and this is that roof right here, showing you that direct line of sight. Brand new information is out on the shooter, including which direction he ran, what weapon he used, and is it possible that there were engravings on the shell casing? Apparently, yes, and they could reveal some of the suspect's identity. The FBI giving a press briefing providing the following information after the shooter left the roof, which, remember, we analyzed this in detail yesterday with the trajectory following this diamond right here to the roof. We also yesterday broke down how ridiculously easy it would have been to get off of this roof, which is a very short distance from the floor here, only about a foot. It's a small step up, or you could have just used the staircase to get up onto the roof. We saw the shooter in the shooting video yesterday run across in this direction from bottom to top. Where did the shooter go after that? It turns out the shooter after that jumped down, and rather than going into the...
Okay, I changed my mind. Let's focus on the market here right now.
Remember, stocks tend to be forward-looking, and Tesla now has that robo-taxi kind of at least moving around. And so that's step one, and then step two will be eventually the market starts to price in humanoid robots. So a lot of it has to do with story, and yeah, just from a technical perspective, I think it's got the nicest base from a large cap, mega cap perspective. So, and by the way, for the people who have been driving the new Tesla, I've heard nothing but good things about that. About the full self-driving. So I like to think it's a cult stock too, but I've heard great things about that full self-driving. Yeah, I was looking at AOI first thing this morning. FSD is insane. Yeah, you see? That's what I'm saying. That's the sort of thing I keep hearing. Rocket Lab doesn't look too bad. You know, I kind of like KTOS a little bit more. Doesn't really have a big distribution day like Rocket Lab, and MRCY is another one that looks pretty good too.
Having this camera up here is good for my posture.
ASST is scam? I'm not sure. Trading like it. My thoughts on Core Scientific. CoreWeave was going to buy them and then decided last moment that they're not gonna. They're not gonna. I don't know. Not such a terrible base.
Let's get that in higher quality for you
Core's
guys.
pretty good. Yeah, CoreWeave was supposed to buy them and then they backed out. And I don't know. I think the names adjacent to cores in like its group are acting pretty well, right? Wolf, Hut, Iron, Cypher. Looks pretty decent. MBIS got a little bit more whacked. Let's see. Yeah. Well, $2 billion offering, you know. AMPX. Yeah, looks good. We've been talking about this one for the last few days. I think on Monday somebody asked me about this thing. Spotify. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't look bad. You know, it'll move with Netflix basically. SoFi is another one I don't think looks bad. Yep, offerings can be buy opportunities in strong names. That's for sure. Pony, I saw this one moving yesterday. I don't know if this was moving because it was just a Chinese stock or because Chinese equities were acting pretty great, right? Something like KWeb, you know, pushing out to highs. Baba gapped up again. Unfortunately, it gave some of that gap up back. Good Lord. This thing likes to gap a ton. One gap, two gaps, three gaps. Very uncomfortable to hold Baba, but you just have to hold it with conviction. PDD. Yeah, Carvana, another one that doesn't look bad at all. It's like that 380 spot. 379. Thoughts on TME? Another nice, strong Chinese stock. Yeah, it looks good. It's got a bit of a gap up going on again overnight here, but it
Can't
looks
believe
good.
Tesla went already.
Not some big gap up.
But the market went. It's got to be FSLR right now.
CNCG, so Citigroup. I wouldn't use the word it's too slow for me. If I've got some cash left over, this is the kind of setup I could still go for. And CG, I haven't looked at. What is this, the cargo group? Yeah, not bad. Estee Lauder setting up, yeah, and I saw this one. I actually think Elf looks a little bit better. It's been a little bit stronger, but they should move together. If I'm gonna play one of these modular, I don't love the reaction that SMR had the other day, but it could still bounce along this 100 day. Oklo was another one. I tried to buy CCJ yesterday, which I'm still in, but I was also staring right at LEU, and I went with CCJ like a total clown. I just picked the wrong one. I picked the wrong one. Should have bought this thing like 207, 208. I kind of effed that up. Yeah, RBRK, if we have a nice reaction to earnings, could be good. No, I don't really like the treasury plays. I don't like BMNR. Right? I don't like this name. Could it go higher? Yeah, it could. But I would prefer to play like ETHU. Right? Like BMNR moves 10% per day, ETHU moves 8% per day, and I don't have the risk of them diluting on me. So less volatility.
Let's talk about solar a little bit. There's the solar ETF, there's FSLR. Let's do a little breakdown here. I do think this is pretty poised to go, so I don't know exactly when it's going to go, but maybe 210 is an important level right now, okay? Can pull up some news over here as well. Can look at the 30-day. It just looks good. So let's jump into that here. There's one stock right now that is poised to take off. I'll give you the ticker right now. It's FSLR. It's a solar stock. It is helped by rate cuts. CPI did come in hot. The market pumped on CPI coming in hot. Tesla just broke out. The stock market looks good despite September being historically the slowest month. And I think this is the best stock to be looking at right now, FSLRs. So let's take a look at the chart right now and some recent news. So here we go. This is the chart, and it's surfing this moving average right here. This is the 20-day. It looks like 210 is the most relevant level. And if we zoom way out, well, this is a pretty important level back from 2023 as well, when the market was strong after 2022's down year. And it looks like we may be gapping above those levels right now. So with those technicals out of the way, which I do think are extremely important, we can also take a look at some of the fundamental reasons for FSLR moving. There isn't news in particular that's helping it. We can see if we pull up recent news, there's basically not much cooking besides some price targets, which are all over the map as usual with price targets, and nothing else that's particular to FSLR. So we don't have to worry about news. Now, I know that might be surprising. Why am I recommending a stock that doesn't have news as a catalyst? Well, the TAN ETF looks pretty good. This is the solar ETF. It does have this level here of 42 that it's holding. And I think FSLR is the best of the solar stocks to take a look at. And I can back that up with some of the tickers here. We can see that these are the tickers that are most closely associated: Sunrun, Solar Edge, and Enphase. And if we look at Sunrun, this is not a stock. It's basically tracking the TAN ETF. It's not as powerful as an FSLR flag right here. Solar Edge has unwound a little in the past 7 days. Looks like it bounced off the 50-day, but that's to be determined. Enphase looks strong, but it is just now touching the 100-day moving average, and it's well below the 200-day moving average. This thing has just been going down. So that's why FSLR, First Solar, is the name to look at right now. The technicals are clear that this 210 level is important, going all the way back to mid-2024 and back to 2023, as we looked at a moment ago. So, with all that said, is there a reason you want to buy it besides it looking so technically sound, besides it leading its sympathy tickers, its group, the solar group? Well, let's take a look at some of the numbers. Okay, so they're good. Q2 net sales up slightly. 10% is not a lot, but earnings per share beat expectations. This is the reason FSLR went up after earnings, which were on July 30th. If we look at SPY on July 30th, it took about a week and a half to get back to its level at July 30th, and then went sideways for another few weeks. Now we're at all-time highs, but that's only a recent development in the past week. So during that whole time, First Solar has had relative strength, and it's still holding that relative strength coming into today. Is it a risk factor that we haven't had a huge up day today, even as SPY has had a solid up day? It's a slight risk factor. I don't think it's that important, given that First Solar is providing that 200 whole $100 level to risk off of, which is also the 200-day simple moving average, which is actually up here when we use this is the exponential moving average. So this is the one we're talking about here. $200, which looks like this, is very important. And 210, if it breaks it, is very important. So it's rare that we get a high average daily range stock. It's almost 5%, which is good, 4%. And we're able to have this breakout occurring within a range of about $10, 200 to 210, which is $10 on a $200 stock is 5%. So it's literally giving a risk level equivalent to its average daily range. It's in a sector that is clear to watch how TAN performs in order to watch how FSLR First Edge performs. And the market is pumping on CPI right now. So all those are combining to make FSLR a strong stock idea for today. We saw how it reacted at earnings. We can go into these earnings numbers in detail. However, I think it's sufficient to say that the rate cut environment, certain tax credits are still in place, does have U.S. manufacturing, doesn't have to worry about tariffs. I don't think you have to worry too much about this stock unless we see some type of crazy tariff action, which of course will affect the entire market, not just First Edge. So other than that, there's no specific risk factor to this stock. And that's why it is top of the list right now. Now, if you are looking for stock advice from a verified millionaire day trader, head over to AkaidoTradingMethod.com. The link is in the description. And hit that subscribe button if you want more stock ideas. Take care. It does look good. Especially with this left side peak over here, mid-May.
Thoughts on Lemonade? They're a terrible insurance company. But
Sorry, I wasn't
they
on my
are
screen.
above the 50 and the 200. Yeah, I mean,
Come back to Ariel
they're
though.
all right. I don't know that I love it. But yeah, we've been talking about Iron Hut, Cypher. I mean, we've been
Turn 'em
talking
up a
about
little.
these names for a while. Iron Hut,
Not too much,
Cypher, Wolf. Nice to see them working. Tesla just took out yesterday's highs.
That was too much. That's better.
Yeah, TSM had a nice little flat base. Not bad. Not bad. And gapping up now overnight, too. Snowflake? God, I slept so good last night that I'm still yawning. How about that? Yeah, Tesla over yesterday's high is fantastic. So I added to my position yesterday. Very nice to see it working. Snowflake? Yeah, Snowflake could be pretty good. It's building a series of higher lows on the 10-day. Had a nice earnings reaction. Yeah, not bad. From February to April, I was short names. I was short names like NOW from this earnings gap down. Right? You got this earnings gap down and then you bear flagged. I was short in here. I was short even AVGO, just didn't last as long from this little bear flag breakdown. I was short
I'll be right
MU
back.
from its
Just
earnings
gotta
gap
go
down.
take
as
care
well,
of the puppy.
right here. I was short GRRR when it broke the 50 right here. What else was I short? I don't know. I was short all sorts of stuff, man. I was short all sorts of stuff. And now AVGO, MU. I'm sure I could look at my prior trades, but yeah, I was short. At one point, I was just short 7 names. I think Oscar's just moving for its own right. I don't know that it's a sympathy. Like, obviously, when UNH performs better, it's going to be helpful to a name like Oscar, but I don't know that it's moving as a sympathy. I think it's just moving for its own right. Right? Because even in here, I don't think Oscar was moving as a sympathy to UNH. Yeah, I saw BE gapping up last night. Very nice. All on Oracle's move. Bless you. Bless you. You just need a brokerage where you can get charts like this and then annotate them. Right? You'll just annotate them with like a little text box and you'll just write like, you know, whatever this was. Whatever the news was for BE, look it up right on the date. You'll write it in a little text box and then you'll put it right there. And then you'll how do I say this? Like, your job is to go through every single year and figure out what the biggest movers was, what the catalyst was that moved them, and then study what does a stage 1 base look like, what does a stage 2 uptrend look like, What's a stage 3 top look like? What's a stage 4 decline look like? Burn those into your head so that, it just becomes kind of like second nature. That's why you always hear me say stuff like, it's below the 200, leave it alone, right? So that's kind of like, you just burn so many charts into your head by looking at them over and over and over and over, that a stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4, Stan Weinstein style, becomes second nature. And then, go back and look at what was the environment they worked in, what catalyst did they have. Oftentimes it's earnings related. Some of the biggest moves in the market are earnings related. What was the market acting like when your stock started to falter? What were other stocks in its group acting like when your stock started to falter? All those little things put the pieces together, and it helps. And it helps. I don't mind it. But at some point, these things are going to have to break out over 48.70s. Eventually, Rigetti's going to have to get going over its own, sideways consolidation. These all have these, several month consolidations. It's going to have to get going, right? Eventually. And they're all kind of stuck in a range like that, which is fine. The longer the range, the higher it can go, but they got to get going at some point. They don't look bad, I'll tell you that. What do you think I'm buying VIX on a market panic? I don't see the reason. I could just short a stock. It's just as easy. I think Hut and Cypher are fun. I don't see a setup to buy them right here. I tried buying Hut on this day and it shook me out. And then the next day it took off. This thing has given a few decent entries. Pullbacks against descending moving averages are the best spot to get involved. Yeah, I wouldn't go chasing a gap up on this one. The time to have bought this was yesterday or the day prior. A stock determines if I'm going to position trade it. I don't just position trade it because of whatever random reason, right? Like I've been in ARK now for 3+ months and I added more yesterday. Would you consider then this a position trade? I mean, I've owned this thing since 6/6. Is that now a position trade where you've been in it for over 3 months? I've been in CCL now for 3 months, basically. Does that make it a position trade? Like, I don't just look at a chart and say, oh, yeah, I'm going to position trade this thing. I swing trade them all, right? And I trim some into strength because I have to pay myself and treat it like a business. But then once that's done, right, I just sit there and let the moving averages do what they're going to do, right? I don't determine how high it's going to go, how high it can, how long it'll trend. Like nobody knows. But if it's going to trend cleanly, then I become a position trader, right? Because I just let my stocks work. No, I'm not finding – so like offerings in a year like this are going to be more common than in 2022, in my opinion, right? It's I just think that when stock price goes up so high and there's like strong momentum behind a name, a company's just taking advantage of the environment to, shore up their balance sheet. Like a really smart company doesn't care about the stock price. Right? A really smart company cares about being able to, do their operations. And so if they need cash, they need cash, right? So yeah, you're going to notice, offerings be more common on stocks that are in uptrends, especially strong ones, like MBIS did it, and even SoFi did one recently, on this day after earnings. So, and it got bought right back up. GEV looks fine. Carvana looks cool. Miguel, I just talked about IONQ. I think it looks just fine too.
Yeah, as long as ONDS holds that left side peak,
SG
looks pretty good.
HC. There's something a little bit random about this. 30 million bucks a day. They're not too slow. It moves almost 5% a day. This one a little bit too slow. This one's also too slow. Yeah, AOI doesn't look bad. It's just been chopping right around the 200. We'll see what happens. I would like to see it make a higher high of some sort. How do you grow a small account with swing trading? The way you grow it is you sit patiently in the best names in the market, and you try to time them well. You trim a little bit into strength, and then you trail the rest, and hopefully you catch a huge move. And you avoid stocks that trade sub 3 ADR. Right? You want to trade names that are a little bit faster.
I'm going to turn this down.
As it relates to position sizing,
and then turn it up this way.
How quickly
Hopefully
the stock
sounds
moves,
good.
10 to 15 to 20% positions. That's it.
That sounds okay, right?
I mean, if you can safely add yourself into the stock a handful more times, you can get a little bit bigger, right? 30 and 40%, but I don't really recommend that too often. Yeah, I could talk about Tesla once again. So I bought it
Probably
a few
turned
days
up even
ago
more.
on Friday, and it didn't go anywhere. And I was widening out my stop on this day
And even higher if I had to.
to the 200 simple moving average.
Like that.
So I would rather just be really small size at first and just be in the stock than, mess around with it too much and be in and out and in and out, right? So that was kind of my first bit of thinking with it. And then yesterday I started to add some more as I noticed that it was the market was bouncing, and 2, Tesla was starting to bounce.
That's good.
With the market. So that was kind of my second bit of thinking, just add some more. But my ads yesterday came with a low of day stop, meaning I'm not going to add to my position and still keep a wider stop. So I would be comfortable keeping a wider stop on my initial shares, but not on yesterday's shares. And then this morning, obviously, a bit of a gap up right into yesterday's high. So, even yesterday's shares are in the green. But as the market started to bounce, I was buying Tesla basically right in this 348 area, and that's it. As the market was kind of V-shaped recovering, and it really didn't come and close towards the low of day, so I just held them overnight, and you're kind of being rewarded for it right now. So yeah, that's kind of my thinking. I want to make Tesla a much bigger position, so I kind of have to add a handful of times before I get there. It depends on the volume. If there's like a big pickup in volume and it's a high relative volume, then I'll just buy it as it's going through a pivot. Yeah,
What
STRL
about-
looks awesome. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with this name.
Baba's gone.
Yeah, I do. I love A-Lab. I kind of missed the spot a few days
This
ago.
is the level
and
for
so there's
Tesla
no
now.
chasing this for me.
370.
But it did look really good. Like 197.5.
That's got to be it.
I keep being asked about this one. I don't really care for this one. The 200 days got to go into an uptrend. Nice job, tripling, quadrupling off the bottom, but Yeah, bit of a gap up in ANET. God, big gap up.
If you guys are just joining the
Yeah, I think
stock that
ANET's
might blow
fine.
past $25 is Intel.
I don't really see a spot to buy it this morning, but which moving average am I trailing? ARC, the 50 simple moving average, and it's gapping up over this morning, so I'm feeling pretty good about it so far. When it's breaking through a prior day high, so one of the things that I'm often thinking about when the stock is breaking through a prior day high is how is the group acting, how is the market acting? Like if the market's coming down, right, I'm not putting myself in a good position to buy a stock going through prior day high, because very likely it could just end up failing right there. So that's a situation that I want to avoid. Like I want to buy stocks as they're going through a pivot and the market's acting well. CDNS, is that Cadence? CDNS looks pretty good.
Yeah, I think it could be a little late for Tesla,
I don't really see a setup here for COM.
If it can pull back here, that would be pretty awesome.
SoFi, I think, looks good. Yeah, I bought MP yesterday.
Okay.
We'll see if that one can hold up.
So
EME, MCore, they just got in the...
speak to that here. I think it is kind of time to break this down. If you guys saw Tesla's move today, it was massive, and importantly for you, there's still a ton of room for growth in the next month, particularly if it pulls back before it breaks through 370. 370 is the key level. I'll show that on the chart right now. I'll show you the ad spots if you're already in it. And most importantly, for people who do not own Tesla, this is when and why to get in. Let's jump into the chart right now. So this is the chart. You can see this break over 356 today over this late June level, which leaves this level over here, 370 from late May, to be the major level. And we can see 356 is pretty much indistinguishable from 370. If we really zoom in over here, we can see just how close this range is that we're talking about. Okay, it's in the ballpark. These highs, if we're really getting granular here, are around 360 exactly. Okay, and then we had that breakout back in just after the end of November. That was the second breakout after Trump's election. So now we're finally building a base. We've built a base for the last 3 or 4 months, and now we're finally looking like we're going to break out of it. Okay, but 370 is a very key level. You can see we're knocking on that door right now on Thursday, September 11th, the time of this video. So that's the technical reasons to buy it. And you can see here, this is the news, okay? Is there a lot of recent news that's that interesting? Not really. If we jump into just a pure listing of news, just a filter of recent news, we can see that there's nothing particularly material within the past week. Okay, it's such a big company that it's tied up in every other company's news stories, but there are not any, don't worry about this little tiny lawsuit situation. The rest of this is and not super important, okay? And this is going back to about a week ago. There's nothing here, okay? There are a couple of things that will come up on the news. This verdict for the autopilot crash could disrupt things in the next month or so if more information comes out about this. It's not to say that this is going to stop Tesla from breaking out, but we'll see what happens, okay? This is enough money where it's not actually the money as a percentage of Tesla's market cap. It's just an indicator of how the public is going to perceive the adoption of self-driving, okay? So again, it's not really about this 20 million at all. It's more about, are people going to start getting awarded money if they're in a crash with a self-driving vehicle, which, let's be real, that's going to happen a little bit. So we don't want it to happen at all, of course. We're going to do everything we can to not make it happen. But here is some other info from chat, okay? Now, does it really matter that this incentive package worth up to $1 trillion is on the table? Well, it does, but so far this is seemingly bullish for Tesla. Having Elon incentivized is bullish. They do have some robotaxi plans rolling out. This is extremely quickly, the end of the year, and we kind of know that's not going to happen, okay? But I think that's baked in. And besides that, there's very little information hurting Tesla's share price right now. This is sort of ambivalent, okay? Supply, demand could be good, could be bad. As far as other information within the past month, it's not important, okay? Robotaxi expansion, the app is not the most technical piece of software that Tesla's working on, okay? And besides the lawsuit, there is really just this Elon headline risk, okay, which is omnipresent. And then there is this sort of employee drivel, okay? Musk responded that including food in meetings is acceptable if someone hasn't eaten. Okay? So that's just how dry the news cycle is for Tesla right now, which is actually great, okay? Because we already have a technical flag forming, and it's actually breaking out on limited volume. And not even much volume has come in here. So as far as where to exactly buy it, well, if this can pull back slightly and hold maybe this 350 level, 356 again being on a larger time period, the closest level, but 350 somewhere down in here from, back, this was about mid-late May. That is mid-late May, level 350 and 356 being the most important levels. Okay, yes, you could come all the way down to 340, but you probably don't want to risk that. Okay, why would you want to risk more than you need to? So if we look on a 5-minute chart, or even more helpfully on a 10-minute, 350 is the breakout level today, okay? And 356 is basically yesterday's high. So super simple levels to remember. Going back to a few days ago, 356 was also relevant. So if you can jump in and keep an eye on your position to see if it touches down there, that is the add spot. Or if you don't have a position, that is where you want to jump in. So I think we've given a quick little roundup of why now is the time to buy Tesla. It's for technical reasons. That may not be super exciting, but the fact is when interest just builds and builds and builds and the stock goes sideways for 4 months, which we saw in the chart, there's going to be a point where without some destructive news, which there hasn't been destructive news particular to Tesla, this thing is going to break out more. I gave you some ad spots, 350, 356, if it can pull back. Probably don't want to chase it, but if you're going to hold for a while, who am I to say that you shouldn't buy Tesla? If you're looking for a verified $9 million day trading training, click that link in the description. And if you want more stock ideas, hit that subscribe button. All right. I am going to say goodbye for a bit, and then I will hop back on here. Go check on the puppy.